The Galactic Council chamber stretched like an immense crystalline amphitheater, its curved walls displaying holographic representations of 1,000 star systems. Senators, diplomats, and military representatives from over 200 sentient species sat in concentric rings, their bodies a kaleidoscope of bizarre anatomies and technological augmentations. Some floated in specialized environmental bubbles, others sat on biomechanical thrones, and a few existed as pure energy matrices projected into physical space. At the center of this cosmic assembly stood General Krasnak of the Zortak hegemony, his 4 muscular arms moving with practiced theatrical precision. His exoskeleton gleamed with ceremonial markings, each iridescent scale a testament to centuries of military conquest. The Zortak were known across the galaxy as the most formidable military force in known space, having subjugated or eliminated over 50 independent civilizations during their 1,000-year expansion. Esteemed representatives, Krasnak began, his voice simultaneously translated into 200 linguistic and telepathic formats. We gather to discuss the latest addition to our galactic community, humans. A series of holographic displays materialized behind him, showing Earth, a small blue-green planet that looked almost insignificant against the vast cosmic backdrop. The first images were of human cities, sprawling metropolises, technological infrastructure that seemed both impressive and primitive. Then came military footage, tanks rolling across desert landscapes, fighter jets cutting through clouds, naval vessels traversing endless oceans. To most alien species, these seemed like quaint displays of technological infancy. Krasnak's mandibles clicked with contempt. Look upon these humans, a species barely capable of maintaining peace on their own planet, let alone understanding the complexities of interstellar diplomacy. His second right arm swept across the holographic displays, highlighting human conflicts, war zones, political upheavals, environmental challenges. The Quarian ambassador, a crystalline being that shifted colors with emotional states, flickered with a pale yellow of uncertainty. The Nexus Collective's representative, a gestalt consciousness occupying multiple quantum-entangled bodies, remained inscrutably neutral, but most delegates leaned forward, intrigued by the Zortak general's presentation. In the last 3 centuries, Krasnak continued, the Zortak hegemony has encountered and either integrated or eliminated 73 emerging spacefaring civilizations. Humans are nothing more than another data point in our extensive records. A 3-dimensional tactical display materialized, showing human technological capabilities compared to established galactic powers. The comparison was stark. Human faster-than-light technology was rudimentary. Their weapons seemed almost comical compared to the energy manipulation systems of more advanced species. Their diplomatic history was a series of internal conflicts, environmental challenges, and technological growing pains. They call themselves explorers, Krasnak sneered, but they cannot even explore their own solar system without primitive chemical rockets. They talk of peace while simultaneously preparing for war. Their societies are fractured, their resources unevenly distributed, their technological progress chaotic and unpredictable. A series of images flashed. Human poverty contrasted with human technological achievements. Children in war-torn regions next to images of quantum computing laboratories. Environmental destruction alongside renewable energy projects. To most alien observers, humans seemed like a species in perpetual conflict with itself. The Galactic Council must understand. The general's voice rose to a thunderous declaration that humans are not ready. They are children playing with technologies they do not comprehend. Allowing them full membership would be tantamount to giving a nuclear weapon to an infant. Several delegations murmured in agreement. The Zortak had never been wrong in their military assessments. Their intelligence networks were legendary, their strategic analysis impeccable. But deep within the chamber, unnoticed by most, a single human diplomatic representative sat quietly. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, a veteran diplomat with eyes that had seen more conflict than most species combined, allowed herself the briefest hint of a smile. Krasnak's final words echoed through the chamber. Humans are cowards. They are not worthy of galactic recognition. Little did he know that those words would become the catalyst for a response that would reshape galactic history forever. The Veterans Rehabilitation Center stood as a monument to human resilience, a sprawling complex nestled in the mountains outside Denver. Its walls were lined with adaptive medical technologies, holographic memory reconstruction chambers, and rehabilitation suites that pushed the boundaries of human recovery. Here, soldiers who had survived encounters that should have killed them learned to live again. Michael Thompson occupied a corner room with a view of the Rocky Mountains. His cybernetic leg, a marvel of biomechanical engineering, gleamed with a matte black finish that spoke of functionality over aesthetics. Scars mapped his body like a topographical record of survival, each one a story of impossible odds overcome. The broadcast from the Galactic Council played on a holographic display that hovered just beyond his bed. Michael's remaining organic eye, the left one replaced by a quantum-adaptive optical sensor, watched with a detached intensity that belied decades of military experience. His service record was classified at the highest level. Most people knew nothing of the Black Ops missions that had shaped his career. The Martian insurgency, the Europa conflict, the Proxima Centauri engagement. Each was a whispered legend among military circles, each mission more impossible than the last. As Krasnak's words echoed through the rehabilitation center's common areas, other veterans gathered around various displays. Some were fully human, others were more machine than flesh, walking testaments to humanity's ability to survive and adapt. An orderly approached Michael, her medical tablet displaying real-time global reaction metrics to the Zortak general's speech. "Can you believe this guy?" she asked, her voice a mix of anger and disbelief. Michael's response was measured, almost casual. Heard worse from drill sergeants. The global network erupted. Social media platforms, diplomatic channels, and military communication networks blazed with commentary. Journalists scrambled for expert opinions. Political analysts dissected every nuance of Krasnak's speech. In the United Nations Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Court, ambassadors traded hushed conversations. Some were furious, others calculated. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez, who had been present during the speech, began preparing a formal response that would thread the diplomatic needle between outrage and strategic restraint. But Michael Thompson existed in a different space entirely. His cybernetic implants began processing the speech at rates far beyond standard human comprehension. Neural networks integrated with quantum computing modules analyzed every frame, every translated word, every subtle gesture of the Zortak general. The tactical AI embedded in his neural network, nicknamed Ghost, began running thousands of potential scenarios. A nurse noticed something unusual. Michael's cybernetic systems were generating heat signatures that suggested intense computational activity. His breathing remained steady. His organic eye never blinked. Outside, the Colorado mountains stood as they always had. Immovable, ancient, indifferent to the cosmic drama unfolding. But something was changing in the room. Something was brewing. Journalists began streaming into the rehabilitation center. They wanted statements. They wanted outrage. They wanted a human face to respond to the alien general's dismissal. The first reporter to reach Michael's room was Sarah Bennett, a veteran war correspondent who had covered conflicts across 3 continents. She carried herself with the weary confidence of someone who had seen humanity at its worst and best. "Master Sergeant Thompson," she began, her recording equipment already live, "what's your response to General Krasnak's statement that humans are cowards?" Michael's response was immediate, not rushed, not angry, simply certain. "One soldier," he said quietly, "is enough." The words hung in the air. No bluster, no theatrical anger. Just a statement of fact delivered with the calm certainty of someone who knew exactly what he was talking about. Bennett's equipment captured the moment. His cybernetic systems glinted slightly in the afternoon light. The mountains provided a backdrop of immovable strength, and in that moment, something shifted in the global, no, the galactic, conversation. Social media exploded. The phrase, "one soldier is enough," began trending across every known communication network. Military analysts began digging into Michael Thompson's classified service record. Diplomatic channels buzzed with speculation. Ghost, Michael's tactical AI, began its own quiet preparations. Computational pathways activated, strategic protocols initialized. A response was forming, not just a statement, but a demonstration that would change everything. The universe was about to learn that underestimating humans was a mistake, and Michael Thompson was about to become the messenger of that lesson. The facility known as Prometheus Base sat buried 2 miles beneath the Colorado Rocky Mountains. It was a research complex so classified that its very existence was a myth among most military and scientific circles. Here, the most advanced human technologies converged, a crucible of innovation where the boundaries of human potential were constantly redefined. Michael Thompson arrived precisely at 300 hours, his cybernetic systems already interfacing with the base's security protocols. The entrance was a marvel of engineering, a quantum-locked doorway that responded to biometric signatures so complex that even identical twins couldn't replicate them. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to the diplomatic ambassador, waited in the primary research lab. She was the lead scientist behind the Titan Tactical Integrated Transformative Augmentation Network project, a classified program that had been developing the most advanced human-machine interface in human history. "We've been waiting for you, Michael," she said, her voice a mixture of professional detachment and barely contained excitement. "The system is ready." The preparation was more than just technological assembly. It was a carefully choreographed dance of human capability and technological innovation. Each component of Michael's combat system had been developed in isolation, then integrated with a precision that bordered on artistry. The nano-adaptive armor stood as the first marvel. Developed from research that combined materials science, quantum engineering, and biological mimicry, the suit was less a piece of equipment and more a living second skin. Microscopic adaptive molecules could reconfigure themselves instantaneously, shifting from soft and flexible to harder than diamond, changing color and thermal signature faster than the human eye could perceive. "Full system diagnostic," Dr. Rodriguez commanded. Holographic displays erupted around Michael, each showing a different layer of his augmentations. His cybernetic leg, already a marvel of engineering, was now being integrated with a quantum entanglement communication system that could effectively make him untrackable. Neural interfaces would allow him to process information at speeds that made standard computer systems look like abacuses. Ghost, his tactical AI, began its most comprehensive system check yet. The artificial intelligence was more than a simple computer program. It was a coprocessor integrated directly into Michael's neural network, capable of analyzing millions of tactical scenarios per second while maintaining a symbiotic relationship with its human host. "Weapon systems," Rodriguez continued, "are beyond anything we've previously developed." A series of modular weapon components began assembling themselves. Plasma-based projectile systems that could punch through capital ship hulls. Quantum-entangled communication disruptors. Adaptive camouflage systems that could make Michael invisible across multiple spectrums of detection. But the most impressive technology was something far more subtle. A neural link system that allowed Michael to essentially become one with his equipment. His thoughts would become commands. His intentions would become tactical actions. The line between human and machine would blur into something entirely new. "The Zortak think they understand technology," Michael said quietly, his voice carrying a weight that filled the massive research chamber. "They've never met a human who becomes the weapon." Dr. Rodriguez allowed herself a rare smile. Years of classified research were about to be tested. Decades of human innovation were about to be proven in the most dramatic way possible. The final integration began. Nanofibers wove through Michael's remaining organic systems. Quantum communication nodes synchronized with his neural pathways. The tactical Ghost began its final initialization sequence. "Mission parameters?" Rodriguez asked. Michael's response was simple: Demonstrate humanity's potential. Show them we're not just another species to be cataloged and dismissed. As the systems came online, something profound happened. Michael Thompson was no longer just a soldier. He was a living weapon, a testament to human innovation, a response to the Zortak general's dismissal that would echo through galactic history. Ghost's initialization completed with a simple message that displayed across every system. Operational. Awaiting command. The universe was about to receive a message, and Michael Thompson was going to be the messenger. The void between star systems was never truly empty. It was a complex tapestry of radiation, quantum fluctuations, and electromagnetic signatures that most species understood only in abstract terms. Michael Thompson understood it as a battlefield. His insertion pod, a marvel of stealth technology, looked like nothing more than a piece of cosmic debris. To any standard detection system, it would appear as a random fragment of space rock, its thermal and electromagnetic signatures perfectly camouflaged. But it was a precision-engineered delivery system designed to insert a single human into the heart of the Zortak fleet. Ghost, the tactical AI, began its first sophisticated dance of electronic warfare the moment they entered the contested star system. Quantum-entangled communication nodes began to probe the Zortak defensive networks, not with brute force, but with an almost musical subtlety. First layer penetration initiated. Ghost's voice whispered through Michael's neural interface. The AI's consciousness was not a separate entity, but an extension of Michael's own tactical thinking, a perfect symbiosis of human intuition and computational precision. The Zortak fleet was impressive by any standard. Massive battleships that looked like geometric nightmares of metal and energy. Smaller support craft that moved with a precision that suggested collective consciousness. Defensive networks that had defeated dozens of spacefaring civilizations. They never saw Michael coming. The insertion pod began its final approach. Microscopic thrusters, invisible to standard detection systems, made minute corrections. The nano-adaptive armor Michael wore began to recalibrate, matching the background radiation and thermal signatures of the surrounding space with perfect mimicry. Targeting analysis complete, Ghost reported. Detecting 17 primary communication nodes, 16 secondary defensive systems, recommended infiltration vectors calculated. Michael's augmented eye, a quantum adaptive sensor that could perceive spectrums far beyond human or alien visual ranges, began mapping the fleet's intricate defensive patterns. Each ship was a universe of potential vulnerabilities, each system a potential point of entry. The first breach was almost anticlimactic. A microscopic quantum entanglement communication disruptor deployed from the insertion pod. It wasn't an attack so much as a whisper, a tiny fragment of code that began to weave itself through the Zortak fleet's communication networks. Ghost's voice remained calm. Initial penetration successful, beginning systematic network destabilization. Entire sections of the Zortak fleet began experiencing inexplicable system anomalies. A communication array would suddenly go silent. A defensive shield would flicker momentarily. Navigation systems would receive conflicting quantum-encrypted instructions that seemed to come from their own command structure. The insertion pod approached the largest battleship, a massive construct that looked like a geometric nightmare of metallic spines and energy conduits. Most infiltration attempts would require breaching airlocks or finding structural weaknesses. Michael's approach was different. Quantum resonance field generating, Ghost announced. The nano-adaptive armor began to reconfigure at the molecular level, its adaptive molecules preparing to phase through solid matter by manipulating quantum tunneling principles. Michael passed through the battleship's hull like a ghost. No breach, no alarm, simply a momentary quantum synchronization that allowed him to exist simultaneously inside and outside the ship's material structure. The interior of the Zortak battleship was a labyrinth of biological mechanical interfaces, organic neural networks integrated with technological systems in ways that most human engineers would find incomprehensible. But Michael saw something different. He saw vulnerabilities. Primary targeting systems located, Ghost reported. Michael's neural interface began uploading specialized viral algorithms, not designed to destroy, but to subtly manipulate. Each line of code was a precision instrument, designed to create confusion rather than direct damage. The first signs of disruption would be subtle. A minor communication delay, a momentary shield fluctuation, a navigation system that suggested coordinates slightly, imperceptibly, off from the intended route. Michael Thompson was no longer just a soldier. He was a living weapon system, a ghost in the machine. The physical embodiment of humanity's potential to turn technological superiority on its head. And the Zortak fleet had no idea what was about to hit them. Chaos spread through the Zortak fleet like an invisible plague. It began subtly, almost imperceptibly, with minor system anomalies that seemed random, unconnected. A navigation array here, a communication network there. Each disruption so precise, so mathematically calculated, that it appeared to be nothing more than statistical noise. On the bridge of the flagship Razor's Talon, Fleet Commander Vornak watched the first signs of systematic breakdown with growing unease. Zortak biology was uniquely adapted to technological integration. Their ships were not mere machines but living organisms, biological mechanical hybrids that responded to collective consciousness with nearly prescient coordination. Diagnostic report. Vornak demanded, his 4 arms moving across holographic control interfaces. The junior tactical officer, a young Zortak named Krelix, looked more confused than concerned. Commander, the anomalies make no logical sense. Our systems are reporting conflicting data streams. Quantum encryption keys are being subtly manipulated, but not breached. Across 17 different battleships, similar conversations were happening. Communication arrays would suddenly route messages through impossible pathways. Defensive shield harmonics would fluctuate in ways that defied mathematical prediction. Weapon targeting systems began receiving coordinates that were mathematically perfect, yet strategically nonsensical. Ghost's voice in Michael Thompson's neural interface remained calm. Systemic disruption at 37.6% efficiency, escalating complexity of interference patterns. Michael moved through the massive battleship's internal systems like a phantom. His nano-adaptive armor allowed him to exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously, part physical presence, part information pattern. Each movement was a calculated dance of disruption. The Zortak fleet's primary weakness was its interconnectedness. What made them powerful, their ability to act as a single, massive organism, became their most significant vulnerability. As Ghost introduced increasingly complex interference patterns, the fleet's collective consciousness began to fragment. Energy distribution networks destabilizing, Ghost reported. Entire sections of battleships began experiencing power fluctuations, not enough to trigger full emergency protocols, but sufficient to create mounting confusion. Vornak's communication specialists worked frantically. Their most advanced diagnostic tools showed nothing definitive, no single point of failure, no clear attack vector, just a growing sense that something was fundamentally wrong with their systems. "It's like the ship is forgetting how to be a ship," Krelix muttered, a statement that would have been considered heretical in any other context. Michael understood something the Zortak did not. Technological superiority was not about raw computational power. It was about adaptability, about understanding systems so completely that you could manipulate them from within. Ghost began introducing quantum-entangled communication disruptions that played with the very fabric of information transmission. Messages would arrive before they were sent. Tactical data would contradict itself in ways that human logic would find impossible, but which quantum mechanics allowed. Systemic confusion at 62.4%. Ghost reported. Collective fleet response becoming increasingly erratic. The first major sign of breakdown came when 3 battleships, each controlling crucial defensive sectors, suddenly and simultaneously adjusted their positioning. The movements were mathematically perfect, tactically precise, and completely wrong. Vornak watched in growing horror as his fleet began to lose its legendary coordination. These were not the actions of an attacked system. These were the actions of a system that was losing its fundamental understanding of itself. "Quantum resonance breach detected," a computer voice announced. But there was no breach. No traditional attack. Just a fundamental manipulation of information at its most basic level. Michael Thompson was rewriting the rules of technological warfare. Not through destruction, but through the most sophisticated form of disruption imaginable. He was teaching the Zortak a fundamental lesson about the nature of technology, information, and adaptability. The fleet was becoming vulnerable, not through force, but through confusion. And Michael was just getting started. The moment of direct engagement arrived with a precision that defied conventional warfare doctrine. Michael Thompson transformed from a ghost in the machine to a targeted weapon of unprecedented complexity. His nano-adaptive armor reconfigured instantaneously. Microscopic molecular structures shifted, creating a combat system that was part technological marvel, part living organism. The armor wasn't just protection. It was an extension of his nervous system, a weapon that anticipated threats before they could materialize. Primary command vessels identified. Ghost reported through Michael's neural interface. The tactical AI had mapped every critical system of the Zortak fleet with a precision that bordered on prescience. Each potential target was not just a physical location, but a complex network of quantum-entangled communication nodes and strategic control points. The first strike was almost invisible, a quantum resonance pulse that passed through solid matter like a whisper. Entire sections of command ships began to experience total systems failure, not through destruction, but through fundamental information disassembly. Vornak watched in horror from the flagship's bridge as his most advanced vessels began to lose cohesion. These were not traditional battle damage patterns. These were systems literally forgetting how to function. Tactical engagement initiated, Ghost announced. Michael's movement through the massive battleship was a ballet of impossible precision. His cybernetic systems allowed him to perceive multiple quantum states simultaneously. Walls became suggestions. Solid matter became a navigational option rather than a barrier. The Zortak had never encountered a combat system like this. Their entire military doctrine was based on collective consciousness and technological superiority. Michael represented something entirely different. A single unit that could think, adapt, and destroy with equal efficiency. Plasma-based projectile systems emerged from his armor, not as traditional weapons, but as adaptive information carriers. Each projectile was a complex quantum algorithm designed to do more than physical damage. They were precision instruments of systemic destruction. Command communication networks began to collapse, not through brute force, but through the most sophisticated information warfare ever conceived. Messages would arrive simultaneously before and after they were sent. Tactical data would contradict itself in ways that human logic would find impossible, but quantum mechanics allowed. Michael moved between ships like a quantum phantom. His nano-adaptive armor could phase through solid matter, exist in multiple quantum states, and reconfigure faster than any known tracking system could comprehend. He was no longer just a soldier. He was a living weapon system. Critical systems targeting, Ghost reported. The AI was more than a simple computational assistant. It was a coprocessor integrated directly into Michael's neural network, capable of analyzing millions of tactical scenarios per second, while maintaining a perfect symbiotic relationship with its human host. Entire sections of the Zortak fleet began to experience total system failure. Shield generators would suddenly generate interference patterns that made them useless. Weapon systems would receive targeting coordinates that were mathematically perfect yet strategically impossible. Vornak's communication specialists worked with increasing desperation. Their most advanced diagnostic tools showed nothing definitive. No single point of failure. No clear attack vector. Just a growing sense that something was fundamentally dismantling their entire operational structure. The physical manifestation of Michael's attack was almost an afterthought. Plasma pulses that carried quantum-encrypted disruption algorithms. targeted energy discharges that didn't just damage systems, but fundamentally rewrote their operational parameters. Systemic breakdown at 89.4%, Ghost reported. The tactical A's voice carried no excitement, no emotion, just pure, calculated precision. Michael Thompson had become more than a soldier. He was a living demonstration of humanity's potential. A single unit capable of dismantling an entire fleet through a combination of technological innovation, tactical brilliance, and sheer human adaptability. The Zortak were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. Technological superiority meant nothing without the will to use it truly innovatively, and no one embodied that innovation more than a human who refused to be defined by limitations. The universe was about to receive a message, and Michael Thompson was writing it in the language of quantum warfare. The Zortak fleet's collapse was not a violent explosion. It was a systematic unraveling that defied every known principle of military engagement. Where once stood 5,000 vessels of unparalleled technological might, now barely 500 remained in any semblance of operational status. Fleet Commander Vornak stared at the holographic displays with a mixture of horror and incomprehension. Communication networks had become a labyrinth of misinformation. Tactical systems spoke languages they no longer understood. The collective consciousness that had made the Zortak invincible for 1,000 years was fragmenting before his eyes. Systems critical, the ship's primary interface announced in a voice that seemed to waver between mechanical precision and existential confusion. Operational capacity, 12.3%. The bridge of the flagship Razor's Talon had become a monument to technological defeat. Zortak officers moved with a jerky, uncertain motion, their biomechanical interfaces struggling to interpret commands that no longer made sense. Quantum-level disruptions had done more than disable systems. They had fundamentally challenged the very way the Zortak understood technological interaction. Vornak's four arms, once a symbol of military might, now moved helplessly across failing control interfaces. Each attempt to reassert control met with another layer of sophisticated disruption. It was as if the very fabric of their technological superiority had been rewritten by an intelligence they could not comprehend. "Prepare surrender protocols," he finally commanded, the words feeling like a personal betrayal to centuries of Zortak military doctrine. The transmission was broadcast across all remaining fleet channels. Not a traditional surrender, but a quantum-encrypted message that carried the weight of complete and total defeat. The irony was not lost on the Zortak command. They were surrendering to a single human who had done what no collective military force had ever achieved. Ghost's voice in Michael Thompson's neural interface remained calm. Mission objectives achieved. Systemic fleet neutralization complete. Michael moved through the final stages of his mission with a precision that was almost surgical. His nano-adaptive armor began to interface with the surrendering Zortak systems, ensuring that the capitulation was complete and irreversible. Each movement was a calculated demonstration of human technological potential. Back on Earth, the first transmissions began to arrive. Diplomatic channels lit up. Military command centers went into high alert. The Galactic community watched in stunned silence as reports filtered in of the most unprecedented military engagement in recorded history. The quantum communication networks carried a simple message, a transmission that would be remembered for generations. "One soldier is enough." Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood before the Galactic Council, the holographic displays behind her showing the complete neutralization of the Zortak fleet. Her presentation was clinical, precise, devoid of any emotional grandstanding. "What you are witnessing," she told the assembled representatives, "is not an act of war. It is a demonstration of human potential." The implications were profound. The Zortak, a species that had conquered or eliminated 73 spacefaring civilizations, had been completely neutralized by a single human operative. Not through overwhelming force, but through a level of technological innovation that redefined the very concept of warfare. Vornak's final transmission was a study in measured defeat. "We surrender," the message read, "with the full understanding that we have been fundamentally misunderstood. The quantum encrypted surrender carried layers of meaning. It was an admission of technological limitation, a recognition of human potential that went far beyond traditional understanding of military capability. Michael Thompson remained where he was, a living weapons system that had just rewritten the rules of galactic engagement. Ghost continued its systematic shutdown of Zortak systems, ensuring that the surrender was complete and irreversible. Mission parameters fulfilled, the tactical AI reported. The universe had received its message. Humanity was not to be underestimated. One soldier, with the right combination of human innovation, technological integration, and sheer determination, was indeed enough to change everything. The Galactic Council chamber fell silent in a way no diplomatic meeting had ever experienced before. Representatives from 200 different species stared at the holographic reconstructions of Michael Thompson's mission, their collective consciousness struggling to comprehend what they had witnessed. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of the chamber, her presentation a masterpiece of calculated understatement. Behind her, interactive displays showed the systematic dismantling of the Zortak fleet, a technological ballet that defied every known principle of warfare. Ladies, gentlemen, and non-binary representatives of the galactic community, she began, what you are about to understand is not just a military engagement. It is a fundamental redefinition of technological potential. The recording showed Michael Thompson moving through the Zortak fleet like a quantum phantom. Each movement was a demonstration of human innovation that went beyond traditional understanding of combat, technology, and individual capability. Back on Earth, Michael Thompson underwent extensive debriefing. The facilities beneath the Colorado Rocky Mountains became a hub of unprecedented scientific and military interest. Researchers from every conceivable discipline wanted to understand the technological marvel that was his combat system. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the lead scientist behind the Titan project, explained the breakthrough to a select group of international leaders. We didn't just create a super soldier, she said. We created a living demonstration of human adaptive potential. The quantum-integrated combat system that was Michael Thompson represented a quantum leap in human technological development. His nano-adaptive armor, the symbiotic tactical AI named Ghost, the neural interfaces that allowed unprecedented levels of information processing. These were not just technological achievements. They were a statement about human potential. Diplomatic channels across the galaxy began to shift. The Zortak surrender was not just a military defeat. It was a complete philosophical capitulation. Their entire concept of technological superiority had been dismantled by a single human operative. Vornak, the defeated Zortak fleet commander, submitted a formal report to the Galactic Council that became an instant historical document. His analysis was brutally honest. The human operative had not just defeated their fleet. He had fundamentally challenged their understanding of technological warfare. We believed technology was about power, Vornak's report read. The human demonstrated that technology is about adaptation, about understanding, about potential. News networks across Earth struggled to capture the magnitude of the event. How does one explain that a single soldier had effectively neutralized the most powerful military force in known galactic history? Michael Thompson became more than a person. He became a symbol, a living demonstration that humanity's greatest strength was not in its technology, but in its ability to innovate, to adapt, to see potential where others saw limitation. The Galactic Council began a comprehensive review of human membership status. The dismissive attitude that had characterized previous interactions evaporated overnight. Humanity was no longer seen as an emerging species. They were recognized as a fundamental force to be understood and respected. Scientific institutions began studying every aspect of Michael's combat system. The quantum-integrated neural interfaces, the nano-adaptive armor, the symbiotic relationship between human consciousness and artificial intelligence. Each discovery was a revelation that promised to reshape understanding of biological and technological integration. Ghost, the tactical AI that had been Michael's operational partner, became a subject of intense scientific and philosophical study. It was not just a computer system. It was a new form of intelligence that challenged every existing definition of consciousness and technological potential. "One soldier is enough" became more than a catchphrase. It became a philosophical statement about human potential, about the power of individual innovation, about the ability to transform limitations into opportunities. The Zortak hegemony, once the most feared military force in the galaxy, began a complete restructuring. Their defeat was not just military. It was a fundamental challenge to their entire philosophical and technological worldview. As the holographic displays in the Galactic Council chamber continued to replay Michael Thompson's mission, something fundamental changed in the collective understanding of technological potential. Humanity had sent a message, not through massive fleets or overwhelming force, but through the potential of a single individual who refused to be defined by limitation. The universe would never be the same.